Before we begin, somebody found this in the seats. If anyone's missing their glasses who happen to have been here last week, we found them. If anyone comes in and they can't see, suggest to them that perhaps we have their glasses. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's wonderful to see so many of you who I recognize, and it's wonderful to have a few faces of people that are new, and I'm thrilled that you're here. If you have the opportunity, turn to someone near you and wish them a Shabbat Shalom, and if they are new, I hope that you will introduce yourselves, or if you simply don't know each other's names, I hope you will continue to do that as well. I believe that we're going to begin with our song sheet. And I'm going to get one while you're singing.
When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we pray twice. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we are one. Shir Ladonai, 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 Shir Ladonai. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we pray twice. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we are one. We'll continue singing and praying together with the words of Light These Lights. Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and and let us say Amen. Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you.
We turn now to page 2, and I'd like to invite Elaine forward to help us with lighting our Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadek ner shel Shabbat.
We will continue together on page 24 with the words of Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yitkadal v'yitkadash miraba, ve'almad yivrachute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayetach bet Yisrael, bagala bagala uv'yizman kariv v'himru. Yehesh meraba mevarach, ve'alam olam me'amaya, yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, yitbahar v'yitramam v'yitnase, v'yitadar v'yitaleh, v'yitalal shemid u'kudeshah. V'hela mikol v'chata v'shirata, tush bechata b'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'himru.
Amen. We rise as we turn to page 28.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
On page 30, we pray together in Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhma poteach she'arim, uvidvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, Golel or mipnei choshech, vechoshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi laila. Umavdil bein yom uvein laila. Adonai tzevaot shemo. El chai v'kayam. Tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai. Hama'ariv aravim. On page 33, wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. We continue together on page 36 in Hebrew. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בהם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai Elohechem, Amet. On page 39, in a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele, malechutecha ra'u banecha, ukei hayam, b'fnei Moshe Miriam, ze'eliyanu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, le'olam va'ed. V'ne'amar ki vada Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai,
Ga'al Yisrael.
We continue singing together with the words on your sheet for Hashkivenu. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. V'hamidenu, Shomrenu lechaim. Ufros aleinu, Sukat shlomecha. Hashivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashivenu, Leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
We continue on page 45. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. Continue with page 46. I invite you to please rise if you're able.
Adonai Sifat Tiftach Ufi Agit Ilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibur v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevii Geula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Ve'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, B'chayei HaKol atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel HaChaim B'chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'rofei Cholim, U'matir Asurim, U'mekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, B'chamocha Ba'al Gevurot, U'mido Melach, Melech B'mit U'mechayeh, U'matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom hallelujah selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. You may be seated.
On the top of page 55, we pray together, may these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mikadesh HaShabbat.
Ritzei, Ritzei, Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu, be'amacha Yisrael, u'tefilatam, be'avat tekabel, u'tei l'ratzon tamid, u'tei l'ratzon tamid, avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai, shehotecha levadecha b'yirat avod, shehotecha levadecha b'yirat avod.
On page 58, we acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lechodot. On page 61, we read together at the top of the page, grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom.
We now take a moment for silent prayer and meditation.
turn now to page 244. Page 244, and I invite you, if you are able, to please rise as we prepare to read from the Torah.
In kamocha Elohim Adonai ve'in kemasecha malchutcha malchut kol olamim umemsharcha bechol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai imloch leolam va'ed Adonai hoz le'amo yitin Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom ki mitzion tetzeh Torah ki mitzion tetzeh Torah udevar Adonai mirushalayim Baruch shenatan Torah Torah Baruch shenatan Torah Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adoninu Kadosh Shmo Gadol Adonai Iti Umrama Shmo Yachtav Lecha Adonai Hagedula V'Hagevura V'Tiferet V'Nitzach V'Haod Ki kol V'Shamayim Uvaretz Ki kol V'Shamayim Uvaretz Lecha Adonai Hamamlacha V'Amid Nasi Lechol Erosh.
This evening, our Torah portion is actually part of two Torah portions, Parshat Behar and Parshat Bechukotai. They're often read together. We will be following along, for those of you who would like, on page 865 in the Plaut Chumash. This will conclude our book of Leviticus this evening, and it ends with Moses making sure that the people understand what all of the work of Leviticus has been about, with creating this tabernacle, this opportunity for God to engage with the Jewish people and to find a way for them to live in God's midst, or for God to live in their midst, as they have now created this space for, with the Mishkan, and through the ability of the priests to ensure that there is a place worthy of God's presence. And so in order to maintain that, there are a lot of rules of what we should do. And of course, we understand what happens when we don't do them. And this is a very good reminder. It's the end of a story. They want to make sure that we really understand just how important it is. So we will begin with our Torah blessings, page 250, if you'll join together with me. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach, Baruch Adonai hamavorach leolam vaed, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai HaTorah. Im bechukotai telechu, ve'et mitzvotai tishmoru, ve'asitem otam, v'natati gishmechem b'itam, Untana haaretz yivula, ve'etz hasadeh yitain pirio, ve'hisig lachem daish et batzir, ve'tzir yasig et zara, ve'achaltem lechachmim, lachmechem lesova, ve'yeshavtem livtoach ba'artzachem. V'natati shalom ba'aretz. For those of you who recognize that word, shalom, that's a good thing. God is saying, I will give you shalom ba'aretz in your land. Ushchavtem ve'ein machrid, ve'hishavti chaya ra'ah min ha'aretz, ve'charev lo ta'avor ba'artzachem, urdaftem et oivechem, v'naflu lifnechem lecharev. Ordfu mikem chamisha mea, umea mikem rivava, yirdefu vinaflu oivechem lifnechem lecharev. Ufaniti alechem, vehifreti etchem, vehirbeti etchem, vehakimoti et briti etchem, ve'achaltem yishan noshen, vayishan, mibnei chadash, Totziu v'natati mishknei betochachem v'lo tig'al nafshi etchem v'hitalachti betochachem v'hayiti lachem lelohim v'atem tehiyu li la'am ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim mihiot lahem avadim ve'ashpor motot alechem ve'olech etchem kamo miyut. We'll join together for our second blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. In case you didn't recognize some of those words, but you saw that they kept recurring, one of those words was betochachem, which means among you, because again, the most important part of this section on holiness is that God may dwell among us. The translation of the words I just read, if you follow my laws, and this is a big if you follow my laws, and faithfully observe my commandments, I will grant your rains in their season, so that the earth shall yield its produce and the trees of the field their fruit. Your threshing shall overtake the vintage, and your vintage shall overtake the sowing. You shall eat your fill of bread and dwell securely in your land. I will grant peace in the land, and you shall lie down untroubled by anyone. I will give the land respite from vicious beasts, and no sword shall cross your land. Your army shall give chase to your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. 5 of you shall give chase to 100, and 100 of you shall give chase to 10,000. Your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. I will look with favor upon you, and make you fertile and multiply you, and I will maintain my covenant with you. You shall eat old grain long stored, and you shall have to clear out the old to make room for the new. I will establish my abode in your midst, and I will not spurn you. I will be ever present in your midst. I will be your God, and you shall be my people. I, the Eternal, am your God, who brought you out from the land of the Egyptians to be their slaves no more, who broke the bars of your yoke and made you to walk erect. With the Torah in our midst, it gives us the opportunity to offer blessings of healing for those in our community who are in need of healing. We think of them, especially at this time, we think of Jeremy Watts, Tiffany Lobertini, Mariah Strickland, Grace Gressley, Eileen Eady, David Woods, Charles Fia, Kim Howell, Julie Wagner, Eleanor Must, Ann Burke, Catherine Cooper, Sid Gross, Cicely Nathan, Jim Locke, Gary Pacernick, Bob Kahn, Steve Samuels, and Arlene Rasnick. If there are other names to be mentioned, I invite you to call them forward as my hand goes around the room. Mishaberach avotenu ve'imotenu, Mishivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim. By the one who has blessed and kept our ancestors in every generation, continue to bring blessing and healing among those we so just mentioned. We praise you, O God. Baruch atah Adonai rofeh hacholim. Blessed are you, the one who brings healing.
You can find the words for our Misha Barak prayer on page 253 in the middle. Misha Barak avotenu mekor habracha v'imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe beirach imotenu mekor habracha v'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
If you are able, I invite you to please rise as we lift and dress the Torah. The words may be found at the bottom of page 252.
V'zot haTorah shesam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael, al pi Adonai v'yad Moshe.
You may be seated. I'd like to begin with a story that was once shared as such by Rabbi Galia Rooks. One day, a man arrived in the shtetl of Teplik driving a cart that was heavily laden with books. He asked to be directed to the home of Mordechai Berg. Because the house had stood empty for nearly 5 years, the rumor spread that Mordechai's son, Isaac, had returned from the city where he had been a university professor. The head of the welcoming committee, who went to call on him, said with genuine warmth, "Isaac, just as it was our custom to call your father, Alav HaShalom, to the Torah on Shabbat, we wish to honor you as well. This week's portion is Toldot, and services start promptly at 7 o'clock. Isaac could see their enthusiasm, so he chose his words carefully. I would truly like to accept your offer to honor me this Shabbat, but I cannot. You see, I have always prided myself on my intellectual honesty. Unless I understand exactly what the Toldot portion means, it would be hypocritical of me to participate. Unless my intellectual understanding was complete, I would be less than honest to mouth mere words. I'm sure you would not want me to be a hypocrite. However, my father's library contains many books. I will study, and once I understand them thoroughly, I will be happy to participate. The welcoming committee looked at each other in amazement. Never before had they heard such an objection. But after all, one could hardly require a person to be a hypocrite. The next week, they appeared again at Isaac's door. Once more, they offered him an aliyah during the coming Shabbat service. He seemed delighted. Thank you. I have studied the Toldot portion of the Torah, and I believe that now I could, with all intellectual honesty, accept the honor. But Isaac, this week the portion is Vayetze. Toldot was read last week. Isaac's eagerness faded. Well, I'm sorry, but of the Yetze portion, I am ignorant. I could not participate without compromising my principles. I am sure you understand. And as the group left, Isaac hurried back to his studies. And so it continued, week after week, with Isaac deferring the honor because it would be false to participate without intellectual satisfaction. After a time, the elders tried a new approach. On their next visit, they asked Isaac to come to shul this Shabbat to join in the celebration of the bar mitzvah of Shmuel and Esther's son Herschel. But again, with sincere apology in his voice, Isaac declined the invitation. He could not participate in the religious life of the shtetl until he felt himself so knowledgeable that it would not offend his standards of hypocrisy. One afternoon, while Isaac was reading in his father's study, 2 women came to solicit money to help a sick member of the community. To encourage his generosity, they reminded him that it was truly a mitzvah. Mitzvah? Isaac asked. What is a mitzvah? The women were astonished, and they didn't quite know how to answer. Mitzvah? Well, in the Torah, God commands Jews to do certain things and not to do other things. Well, Isaac responded, when I can do what you call a mitzvah with a complete understanding of its meaning, I would be happy to have you call on me again. And so the women went away empty-handed, convinced of Isaac's sincerity. They had great respect for his scholarly ideals. So it was that people went on living out their lives in the shtetl, praying in the shul without understanding each and every word, even crying during prayers of supplication, not through the beauty of the prose, but simply because they felt their pleas were somehow reaching God's ears. They knowingly or unknowingly performed ma'asim tovim, acts of loving kindness, without really understanding their full meaning. They celebrated births and deaths with words and customs they barely understood, or frequently followed by tradition rather than knowledge. They patterned their lives and value system after their imperfect understanding of what was indeed required by scriptures. They were drawn together and lived in peace and harmony not through intellectual accomplishment, but as a result of shared hopes and aspirations. All the while, Isaac stood aloof, studying, analyzing, learning more and more, but never doing. Years went by. One day, Isaac closed the last of his father's books. He was finally satisfied that he knew all he needed about his religion and his people. His intellect no longer lacked fulfillment. At last, he could participate in shtetl life without hypocrisy, and he was eager to begin. Suddenly, he realized that it was late in the afternoon on Friday, Erev Shabbat. If he hurried, he could just reach the shul in time for evening prayer. Looking neither left nor right, he ran through the streets towards the shul. A wagon, its driver anxious to get back to the stable before sunset, came careening around a corner just as Isaac was in the middle of the road. The angels, themselves assembling for the Shabbat, witnessed this event in the streets of Teplik. Isaac's reputation had reached them as well. They ran to God, rejoicing that the soul of so idealistic a man, so great a scholar, a person so free of hypocrisy was about to join the heavenly hosts. They stopped in awe, for the Lord was crying. God, too, knew of Isaac's death, but the Holy One, blessed be he, was weeping, not because a life had come to an untimely end, but because he felt that a life had been wasted. God wept because a Jew had spent all his years enriching his mind, but never his heart. The first words of this week's Torah portion are Im bechukotai telechu, if you will walk in my commandments, ve'et mitzvotai tishmeru, and preserve my statutes. Following these words, we learn of all the wonderful things that will happen to the Israelites. And then, just after where I left off reading, we are told, ve'im lo tishme'u li, ve'lo ta'asu et kol hamitzvot ha'ela. But if you do not obey me, and do not observe all these commandments, which also was followed by a very long list, but this time with all of the bad that would befall the Israelites. As modern liberal Jews, we do not subscribe to this system of reward and punishment that is relayed in this parashah. Yet I think we could still agree that there is a code by which we must live, and that following God's commandments is still vital to a meaningful life. But much depends on our understanding of the commandments. Like Isaac Berg, many of us don't have the depth of Torah knowledge to feel capable of fully walking in God's ways. Sometimes we choose to continue our study and hesitate to participate. Perhaps it is a fear of being hypocritical or simply a fear of maybe getting things wrong. We are taught in Yalkut Shimoni that the verse Im bechukotai teaches that Israel should labor in the Torah. This can be understood two different ways. According to the first, it tells us that we should be laboring according to the morals and values found in Torah. We must use our knowledge towards the end of actively taking part in Jewish life, of walking the walk. It is a reminder that we don't need to know the entirety of Jewish law in order to care for and help others or to advocate for the most vulnerable among us. Yet according to the second interpretation, that emphasizes that Israel must labor in the study of Torah. We must continue to learn and to study the Torah in whatever way we may understand it. When we consider both of these interpretations together, we learn that while it is important, it is not enough just to study the Torah, for we must also live by it, walk by it. The values in our text should guide the way we live our lives. What good is our knowledge if it doesn't lead us to making the world around us a better place? To truly walk in God's ways, we must understand and perform the mitzvot, yet neither to the exclusion of the other. Our study needs to lead to action, and our action needs to be inspired through the principles and values which underlie our study. On this Shabbat, as we conclude our book of Leviticus and prepare to begin the next, we are reminded that there is always more to learn and plenty of work to be done. May we always labor in the Torah and carry the Torah with us in our labor. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. We are still in that wonderful period known as the Omer. In fact, it was just Lag BaOmer earlier this week, and we got to celebrate a wedding on Lag BaOmer. We're told that's the only day between Passover and Shavuot that a person is supposed to get married or shave. I don't know that that's widely still practiced within our community, but the wedding was lovely. But during this time, we are taught that we are to count every day, or better yet, to make every day count. We recite the blessing, which continues as a normal blessing formula and ends with Al Sefirat HaOmer, if you'd like to join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Al Sefirat HaOmer. And then we continue, Hayom Shiv'a U'Shloshim Yom Shehem Chamisha Shivuot U'Shnei Yamim LaOmer. Today is 37 days, which is 5 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. We continue now, if you are able to please rise as we return the Torah to the Ark. This may be found on page 256 in your book.
It's Chaim hi, lama chazikim ba,
ותומכיה מאושר, דרכיה דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, חדיש חדיש ימינו, חדיש ימינו כקדם.
We continue with the words of Aleinu, which can be found on page 282.
Page 291. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. We are in a period of Aninut for Nanette Solomon, a period of Shiva for Harvey Taylor, and a period of Shloshim for Sheila Carrico, Mary Harris, David Wilson, Robert Stommel, Rabbi Shay Kane, and Jessica Kirshner. We also remember those who died at this season in years past, those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own, as we observe yahrzeits for Aaron Blau, Sam Goldflies, Gerald Albert, Edward Faust, Rezi Roman, Henry Bader, Minnie Holes, Simon S. Roth, Samuel Peel, Aaron Roth Klein, Julius Roman, Esther Sacker, Marilyn Raddock, Bennett A. Laderman, Joseph O. Weinreich, David Office, Felix Jacobs, Olive Margolis Frankel, Charles William Weprin, Margaret Baer, Ken Rittner, Deborah Seidel, Florence Kahn Hyman, Corinne Rich, Dr. Philip D. Mayman, Jerome A. Goldswig, Laverne D. Zimmerman, Vern R. Cox, Albert E. Becker, Sr., Margaret S. Becker, Harry Wright, Ralph G. Rickenback, Morris Meyerson, Melba Khan, is it Meyerson or Meyerson? Morris Meyerson, Melba Khan, Max Schulman, Avron Burt, Minnie Goldflies, Rosalind D. Malavani, Libby G. Golden, Charlotte Greenblatt, Jack Thompson, Saul Green, Rosalind Moss, Harry L. Levitt, and I invite you to call forward any other names or perhaps pronounce more correctly the names that have already been pronounced. I invite all who are remembering or who are in mourning to please rise first. We as a community rise for the words of Kaddish, page 294. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divra chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, B'chayechon v'yomechon, Uv'chayeh dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shemei dekudsha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always and only be for a blessing among us. Amen.
We'll close our service today with the words of Adon Olam, which you can find on page 321.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra v'nasa v'chefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei yichlot hakol levado yimloch lo ra ve'hu haya ve'hu hove ve'hu yeh b'tifara ve'hu echad ve'ein sheni ve'hamshir lo le'achbira ve'li reshit ve'li tachlit ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamizrach ve'hu heli ve'chai go'ali ve'tzur chevli be'etzara ve'hu nisi u'manos li menat kozi be'yom ekra be'yado afkir ruchi be'ti shan ve'ayira ve'im ruchi gviati Adonai li ve'lo yira.
In just a moment, we will continue with Kiddush and Motzi in the hallway. I just want to remind, if anyone has lost their glasses, I may have them. And tomorrow morning, we do have our Shabbat morning service. For those of you who would like to be here, we're going to be honoring our Lamed Vav and Life and Legacy members. And as well, tomorrow's Torah study will be here at Temple or on your computers. We call that hybrid. So please join us if you are able, Torah to go around. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.